In the heart of Texas, a story unfolded that would send shockwaves through both the religious and legal communities, a tale of love, betrayal, and tragedy. What if I told you that a seemingly perfect marriage between a respected pastor and a powerful judge ended in murder just 24 hours after they exchanged vows? This is not just a sensational headline, it's a harrowing reality that raises uncomfortable questions about trust, expectations, and the dark secrets we often hide beneath the surface. Picture this: Pastor Dion Waverly, a man of God revered by his congregation, had built a life based on principles of purity and devotion. He was the embodiment of moral authority, often preaching about the sanctity of marriage and the importance of waiting for the right partner. His followers looked up to him as a beacon of righteousness, a man who had devoted himself to his faith and community. Enter Judge Saw Caldwell, a fierce and ambitious federal judge known for her sharp legal mind and unyielding determination. Their whirlwind romance seemed like a match made in heaven, a pastor and a judge, two respected figures united in faith and love. The wedding, attended by prominent figures from both the church and legal circles, was nothing short of extravagant. It was a celebration filled with joy, laughter, and promises of a glorious future. Friends and family marveled at the couple's apparent compatibility, believing they were destined for greatness together. However, what transpired behind closed doors that night would shatter those illusions and lead to an unimaginable confrontation. As the newlyweds checked into their luxurious honeymoon suite, anticipation filled the air. It was supposed to be a night of romance and intimacy, a culmination of their love story. But as the hours ticked by, something began to unravel. Pastor Waverly, the man who had always held himself to high moral standards, found himself confronted with a shocking reality he never expected. A strong, unpleasant odor emanated from his bride, a scent that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Initially, he dismissed it as something related to the hotel room, a mere anomaly in what should have been a perfect evening. But soon, the truth became undeniable. In that moment, the pastor's mind spiraled into confusion and disgust. How could the woman he had chosen to spend his life with be associated with something so unsettling? The revelation that followed would shake the very foundation of their relationship. Judge Caldwell opened up about her past, revealing a history filled with reckless relationships and long-buried secrets. As she confessed to having been with over 50 partners, the weight of her words crushed Waverly's heart and shattered his ideals. This was not the woman he thought he was marrying. What followed was a volatile confrontation that no one could have foreseen. The intense emotional turmoil led to a struggle, one that would end tragically. The pastor's world, built on faith and discipline, crumbled before his eyes. The wedding night that was meant to symbolize their love turned into a scene of chaos and horror. As we dive deeper into this tragic tale, we must confront the uncomfortable truths about human nature, societal expectations, and the consequences of deception. How could a man of God resort to violence? Was it merely a moment of rage, or was it a culmination of hidden resentments? Join me as we unravel the shocking truth behind this catastrophic event, exploring the complexities of love, betrayal, and the unforeseen consequences that can arise when the facade of perfection crumbles. As we delve into the intricate layers of this case, it's essential to understand the complexities of human relationships, the weight of expectations, and the devastating consequences that can arise from hidden truths. The story of Pastor Dion Waverly and Judge Saw Caldwell is not just a tale of love turned tragic. It is a profound lesson about the fragility of perception and the dangers of deception. In a world where appearances often overshadow reality, we are drawn to narratives that challenge our understanding of morality and justice. The union between a respected pastor and a powerful judge seemed like a match made in heaven, yet beneath the surface lay secrets that would ultimately unravel their bond in a matter of hours. This case compels us to reflect on the nature of trust and the importance of honesty in relationships. Imagine standing at the altar, committing to a life with someone you believe embodies the ideals you cherish. Pastor Waverley, a man of faith, had dedicated his life to preaching the values of purity and discipline. He envisioned a future built on shared beliefs and mutual respect. Yet, on what should have been the happiest night of their lives, a shocking revelation shattered that vision. The stark contrast between his expectations and the reality he faced that night raises questions about the nature of love and the role of honesty. As we explore this heart-wrenching story, consider the implications of hidden truths. What might have happened if Judge Caldwell had been open about her past? Would the outcome have been different? This narrative is not just about a tragic end, it's an exploration of how secrecy can poison even the most seemingly perfect relationships. In this unfolding drama, we witness the clash of ideals versus reality, love versus betrayal, and the thin line between emotional turmoil and violent reaction. It serves as a stark reminder that beneath the surface of even the most polished lives, there can be chaos waiting to erupt. Join us as we navigate through the emotional landscape of this case, examining the events that led to that fateful night and the choices that changed everything. This is more than just a recounting of events, it is an invitation to reflect on our own lives and relationships. How do we handle the weight of our past? How do we communicate our truths to those we love? As we continue, let's keep in mind the lessons that emerge from this tragedy. Each decision we make can have far-reaching consequences, and the importance of transparency in our relationships cannot be overstated. The story of Pastor Waverley and Judge Caldwell urges us to engage with our own truths and to approach our relationships with honesty and understanding. With every twist and turn, this case reveals the raw and often painful realities of human emotion, and it challenges us to confront our own biases and beliefs about love, trust, and betrayal. Stay with us as we unravel the layers of this gripping story, seeking to understand not just what happened, but why it matters to all of us. Pastor Dion Waverley was a notable figure within the Houston community, known for his leadership at the New Light Baptist Church. Raised in a devout Christian household, he embodied the values of faith and integrity from a young age. His upbringing instilled in him a strong moral compass, which he carried into his adult life as he took on the role of a pastor. Revered by his congregation, he preached about the virtues of purity, discipline, and the importance of waiting for the right partner, often sharing personal anecdotes that painted him as a man of God dedicated to his beliefs. Waverley's sermons were a blend of inspiration and strict adherence to biblical teachings. He encouraged his followers to live a life of righteousness, urging them to avoid temptation and maintain their faith in God's plan. This dedication earned him respect and admiration, positioning him as a role model within his community. Many viewed him as the embodiment of Christian values, a man who had waited patiently for the woman God had destined for him. However, this seemingly perfect persona faced scrutiny when he announced his engagement to Judge Caldwell. The suddenness of their relationship raised eyebrows, particularly among those who had followed his teachings closely. While many in his congregation celebrated the union, others speculated about the true nature of their connection. Judge Caldwell, a powerful figure in her own right, represented a stark contrast to Waverley's pastoral image. She was independent, fiercely ambitious, and known for her no-nonsense approach in the courtroom. Their whirlwind romance was characterized by rapid courtship, culminating in a grand wedding that attracted not just church members, but also prominent figures from the legal world. This union, however, would soon unravel under the weight of hidden truths and unspoken expectations. For Waverley, The marriage symbolized a divine partnership, yet he was oblivious to the secrets lurking beneath the surface. As their wedding day approached, Waverley's excitement grew, but so did the pressure to maintain his public image. The expectations placed upon him were immense. He had often preached about the sanctity of marriage, and now he found himself at the center of a narrative that was far more complex than he had anticipated. In the days leading up to the wedding, his thoughts were consumed with the ideal of a perfect union, one that would serve as a shining example of love and faith. Yet, on their wedding night, everything changed. What began as a celebration of love quickly spiraled into chaos. The revelation of Judge Caldwell's past shattered Waverley's idealistic view of their marriage. The strong moral framework he had built his life upon began to crumble as he faced the reality of his wife's hidden struggles and the secrets she had kept. This confrontation not only tested his faith and values but also pushed him to confront his own humanity in a way he had never experienced before. In that fateful moment, Pastor Dion Waverley was confronted with an emotional turmoil that was foreign to him. The ideals he had preached about purity, honesty, and love were suddenly overshadowed by betrayal and disgust. The man who had dedicated his life to guiding others was now grappling with a personal crisis that would lead to tragic consequences, forever altering the trajectory of his life and the lives of those around him. Judge Saw Caldwell was a formidable presence in the legal arena, known for her sharp intellect and unwavering determination. Hailing from a family of educators, she was instilled with the values of hard work and integrity from an early age. Her journey to the bench was marked by rigorous academic achievement, ultimately earning her a law degree from a prestigious university. As she navigated through the complexities of the legal system, Caldwell quickly garnered a reputation as a fierce advocate for justice, often taking on high-profile cases that challenged the status quo. Her rise to prominence was not without controversy. Many admired her tenacity, while others criticized her methods, which some deemed too aggressive. Yet, Caldwell remained undeterred, believing deeply in her mission to uphold the law and protect the rights of the marginalized. This dedication earned her respect among her peers, but it also attracted scrutiny, especially regarding her personal life. As a high-achieving woman in a male-dominated field, she often found herself the subject of gossip and speculation. When she crossed paths with Pastor Dion Waverley, the juxtaposition of their lives was striking. While Waverley was a figure of faith and morality, Caldwell was a pragmatic realist, shaped by her experiences in the courtroom. Their relationship began with a whirlwind of passion, but as their engagement progressed, it became apparent that their backgrounds were worlds apart. Waverley's community-oriented lifestyle clashed with Caldwell's independent spirit, leading to tensions that neither had anticipated. As they prepared for their wedding, glimpses of Caldwell's past began to emerge, casting shadows over their future. Waverley, who had always placed his faith in transparency and honesty, found himself grappling with the secrets that Caldwell had kept hidden. The judge had fought hard to establish her career, and the pressures of her professional life often bled into her personal relationships. She had faced challenges that shaped her decisions, and the weight of those experiences began to surface as they approached their wedding night. Caldwell's mysterious aura was both captivating and troubling. She had always been adept at compartmentalizing her life, but the impending union with Waverley forced her to confront the realities she had long buried. The expectations surrounding their marriage loomed large, and the dichotomy of her public persona versus her private struggles became increasingly difficult to manage. While Waverley saw in her a partner destined to walk alongside him in faith, Caldwell wrestled with the fear of being fully known, of revealing the complexities that defined her. The night of their wedding marked a turning point. As the couple celebrated their union, The atmosphere was electric, filled with joy and anticipation. Yet, beneath the surface, a storm was brewing. Caldwell's past began to claw its way into the present, leading to an emotional confrontation that neither had prepared for. Waverly's idealism clashed with Caldwell's reality, and as truths were revealed, the foundation of their relationship began to shake. In that moment, the mysterious judge was forced to reckon with her identity not just as a legal authority but as a woman navigating the complexities of love, ambition, and vulnerability. The layers of her life began to unravel, and the consequences of her decisions loomed large. This was not just a story of a wedding gone awry, it was a narrative of two individuals grappling with the weight of their pasts and the uncertain future that lay ahead. As tensions escalated, it became clear that the path forward would not be straightforward. The judge's secrets, once carefully guarded, threatened to dismantle the very foundation of their marriage. The world that Waverly had envisioned a partnership rooted in faith and mutual support was rapidly dissolving, leaving behind a web of confusion and heartache. Caldwell's story was one of resilience, but it was also a cautionary tale of how the past can echo through the present, shaping destinies in unforeseen ways. The romance between Pastor Dion Waverly and Judge Saw Caldwell ignited like a spark in a dry field, quickly growing into an all-consuming fire. Their paths crossed at a community event, where Waverly was delivering a sermon on the importance of love and partnership. Caldwell, attending as a guest, was struck not only by his words but by the passion and sincerity that radiated from him. The connection was immediate and electric, as if they were two celestial bodies drawn together by an unseen force. In the weeks that followed, their relationship blossomed with a fervor that surprised them both. They spent countless hours talking about their dreams, aspirations, and the values that shaped their lives. For Waverly, Caldwell was everything he had ever hoped for in a partner: intelligent, ambitious, and fiercely independent. For Caldwell, Waverly embodied the ideals of compassion and faith she had long admired but felt were often overshadowed by the harsh realities of her profession. Their dates were filled with laughter and deep conversations, each meeting reinforcing the bond they were forming. They explored the city, shared meals at quaint restaurants, and attended community functions together. Waverly introduced Caldwell to his congregation, where she was met with warmth and acceptance, while she, in turn, invited him to her legal events, exposing him to a world of challenges and triumphs that he had only glimpsed from afar. Yet, as their feelings deepened, so did the complexities surrounding them. Waverly's life was rooted in the church community, where expectations were high and scrutiny was constant. Caldwell, a respected judge, navigated a world filled with legal battles and ethical dilemmas. Their contrasting lifestyles created a beautiful tension, one that both delighted and frightened them. They were drawn to each other's strengths, yet acutely aware of the challenges that lay ahead. As their romance progressed, the couple faced external pressures. Friends and family were supportive but also cautious, reminding them of the stark differences in their backgrounds. Waverly's congregation expected him to embody a certain image, one that was intertwined with notions of purity and righteousness. Caldwell, with her fierce independence and career-driven mindset, often felt the weight of those expectations pressing down on her. Despite the challenges, they became engaged in what felt like a whirlwind. The proposal was a romantic affair, set against a backdrop of twinkling lights and soft music. Waverly, nervously clutching a ring, spoke from the heart about love, faith, and the future he envisioned with Caldwell by his side. Overwhelmed with emotion, she accepted, believing that together they could bridge the gap between their worlds. Yet, as the wedding date approached, the excitement was tinged with an undercurrent of anxiety. Both Waverley and Caldwell were acutely aware that their union was not just a merging of lives but also a collision of ideals and expectations. Conversations turned to the future, and while they painted a picture of shared dreams, unspoken fears lingered in the background. The whirlwind romance that had swept them off their feet began to reveal its complexities. As they prepared for their wedding, the couple faced the reality of their differences. Waverley's idyllic vision of marriage clashed with Caldwell's pragmatic approach, leading to moments of tension that tested their bond. The once carefree love story began to morph into a narrative filled with questions and uncertainties. Both the pastor and the judge stood at a crossroads, grappling with the implications of their decisions. The whirlwind romance that had brought them together now threatened to unravel in the face of unaddressed challenges. As they approached their wedding day, the excitement of love was layered with the weight of truth, setting the stage for a night that would forever change the trajectory of their lives. As the sun set on what was meant to be the most magical day of their lives, Pastor Dion Waverley and Judge Saw Caldwell stood on the precipice of a new chapter. The wedding ceremony had unfolded beautifully, surrounded by friends, family, and members of the congregation, all celebrating the union of two seemingly destined souls. Laughter and joy filled the air, but beneath the surface, shadows loomed, waiting to emerge. After the festivities, the couple retreated to their hotel suite, excitement bubbling within them. They were newlyweds, and the world was at their feet. For Waverley, this night symbolized the culmination of everything he had preached about love, commitment, and the sanctity of marriage. He envisioned a night filled with romance and tenderness, a celebration of their deep emotional connection. Caldwell, on the other hand, felt the weight of expectations pressing down on her. She was determined to rise to the occasion but was haunted by the secrets she had yet to fully reveal. As they entered the suite, the atmosphere shifted. The once joyful excitement was replaced by an undercurrent of tension. Waverley, sensing the change, tried to maintain a light-hearted demeanor, but he could see that Caldwell was lost in thought. He reached for her hand, a gesture meant to bridge the gap between them, but she hesitated, her mind racing with conflicting emotions. The weight of her past and the reality of their new life together began to clash violently. Their first moments together as a married couple should have been filled with joy, yet an unspoken fear settled in. Caldwell felt torn between her love for Waverley and the secrets that threatened to unravel their union. She had spent so long building a life marked by independence and strength, but now, she found herself grappling with the vulnerability that came with marriage. As Waverley leaned in for a kiss, seeking to ignite the passion they had shared throughout their courtship, Caldwell's mind was elsewhere, caught in a whirlwind of uncertainty. The conversation turned serious as they settled onto the plush sofa, each grappling with the weight of the evening. Waverley, trying to understand the shift, asked what was on her mind. Caldwell's heart raced, knowing that this was the moment to share her truth. She opened up about her struggles, her past relationships, and the challenges she faced in her career. But as she spoke, the words felt heavy, laden with fear of judgment and rejection. Waverley listened intently, but as Caldwell laid bare her vulnerabilities, he felt the foundations of their relationship begin to tremble. The idealistic vision he had held of their marriage started to crack. He had always believed in the importance of transparency, yet here was his wife, revealing layers of herself that he had never known. The reality of her past was not what he had envisioned, and the air thickened with confusion and hurt. As the night wore on, the emotional weight became unbearable. Misunderstandings escalated into arguments, and the joyous celebration turned dark. Waverley, feeling betrayed by the secrets, struggled to reconcile the image of the woman he loved with the complexities she had just unveiled. Caldwell felt cornered and defensive, fearing that her honesty would push Waverly away. The tension reached a breaking point as words became sharper, each cutting deeper than the last. What was meant to be a night of love and intimacy transformed into a battlefield of emotions. The couple found themselves trapped in a cycle of blame and hurt, each feeling the sting of the other's disappointment. The honeymoon phase slipped away, replaced by raw, painful honesty. They had entered the night as newlyweds, but now, they faced a truth that threatened to tear them apart. In the quiet darkness of their hotel suite, the reality of their relationship hung in the air like a storm cloud, heavy and ominous. The whirlwind romance that had brought them together now stood at a precipice, and the couple was left to grapple with the consequences of their pasts. As they sat in silence, the weight of what lay ahead began to settle in a journey filled with challenges, heartbreak, and the hope of reconciliation, if they could navigate the darkness together. In the aftermath of a tumultuous wedding night, Pastor Dion Waverly and Judge Saw Caldwell found themselves at a crossroads, their love hanging in the balance. The emotional fallout from their earlier confrontation left both feeling raw and vulnerable. As the early morning light filtered through the curtains, illuminating the remnants of their celebration, a profound silence filled the room. They were two souls caught in a storm of confusion, longing for understanding yet afraid to take that next step. As Waverly sat on the edge of the bed, grappling with the weight of Caldwell's revelations, he felt a deep sense of betrayal. Everything he had believed about their relationship was being challenged. He had envisioned a life built on trust and shared faith, but the secrets she had revealed began to overshadow the love they had cultivated. Looking at his wife, he saw not only the woman he loved but also the complexities that had emerged, making him question the foundation upon which their marriage stood. Caldwell, on the other hand, was trapped in a whirlwind of regret and fear. She had hoped that her honesty would bring them closer, but instead, it had driven a wedge between them. The burden of her past weighed heavily on her heart, and she knew it was time to confront one final truth, a confession that had been buried far too long. As she gathered her thoughts, the realization that vulnerability was the only path forward began to dawn on her. With a deep breath, Caldwell turned to Waverly, her heart racing. "There's something else I need to tell you," she said, her voice trembling. Waverly's gaze sharpened, a mixture of fear and curiosity flickering across his features. He nodded, bracing himself for what was to come. "I've been married before," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. The words hung in the air, heavy with implications. Waverly's heart sank as he processed her admission. The weight of her past loomed larger than he had anticipated, and the image of the woman he loved began to shift in his mind. Caldwell continued, her eyes filled with tears. "It was a short marriage, but it was filled with pain and disappointment. I thought I had moved on, but I've carried the guilt and shame of that relationship for so long." Her voice broke, and Waverly felt a surge of emotions: anger, confusion, and a deep sense of empathy. He wanted to understand, but the revelation felt like a betrayal of everything he had believed about their union. "I didn't want to burden you with my past," she added, her words pouring out in a rush. "I was terrified that it would change how you viewed me. I've worked so hard to build my life and my career, and I thought I could leave that behind. But it seems like it has followed me here." Waverly struggled to process her confession. The man he had always been a pillar of faith and integrity was now grappling with the complexities of love and forgiveness. He wanted to support Caldwell, to help her heal, but the shadows of her past loomed large, casting doubt on their future together. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" he asked, his voice steady but filled with hurt. "We could have faced this together." Caldwell looked down, shame flooding her expression. "I was afraid. Afraid of losing you. I thought that if I could just show you the woman I've become, you wouldn't see the flaws of my past. As the weight of her confession settled between them, the couple faced a pivotal moment in their relationship. Waverly felt a battle raging within him. Could he reconcile the woman he loved with the reality of her history? Could he forgive the secrets that had festered beneath the surface? In that moment of vulnerability, a glimmer of hope emerged. They both realized that true intimacy was built not just on shared dreams, but on the willingness to confront the past, to embrace each other's flaws, and to forge a path forward together. As they faced the aftermath of Caldwell's shocking confession, the couple stood at a threshold, one that could either deepen their love or irrevocably shatter it. The journey ahead was fraught with challenges, but within that uncertainty lay the possibility of healing and growth, if they were willing to embrace the truth. As the sun began to rise, casting a warm glow over the hotel room, Pastor Dion Waverly and Judge Saw Caldwell found themselves at an impasse. The morning light, which had once symbolized hope and new beginnings, now felt like a spotlight illuminating the fractures in their relationship. The air was thick with tension, and both were acutely aware that the emotional fallout from the previous night had not yet subsided. Waverly sat at the edge of the bed, his thoughts churning. Caldwell's shocking confession about her previous marriage echoed in his mind, stirring up a whirlwind of feelings: betrayal, anger, and confusion. The man who had always preached about faith and forgiveness now struggled to reconcile these ideals with the reality of his wife's past. He felt a sense of loss, not just for the image of their perfect union but for the trust that had begun to erode. Caldwell, still reeling from her own vulnerability, sensed Waverly's internal struggle. She had hoped that sharing her truth would bring them closer, but instead, it seemed to have deepened the chasm between them. As she prepared breakfast in a bid to ease the tension, her mind raced with questions. Would Waverly still see her as the strong, independent woman he had fallen in love with, or would her past forever tarnish their relationship? When Waverly finally spoke, his voice was strained. "I can't believe you didn't tell me about your marriage before. How could you keep something like that from me?" His tone was sharp, the hurt evident. Caldwell turned to face him, her heart pounding. She had anticipated this reaction but was unprepared for the intensity of his disappointment. "I was scared, Dion," she replied, her voice rising. "I thought I could protect you from my past. I didn't want it to define who I am today." The frustration boiled over as she stepped closer, eyes flashing with emotion. "You think I wanted to hide this from you? It's not easy to talk about." Waverly stood up, his own anger simmering just below the surface. "You don't get to decide what I should or shouldn't know about you. We're supposed to be partners, Saw. How can I support you when you're keeping secrets?" The confrontation escalated, each word laced with the pain of betrayal and hurt. Caldwell's heart raced as she faced him, feeling both defensive and vulnerable. "I didn't think it was a secret that would change how you felt about me. I thought we could move forward together without dragging the past into our present." Her voice cracked, revealing the depth of her struggle. Waverly clenched his fists, frustration boiling over. "But it's not just your past. It's our future we're talking about. How can I trust you when I don't even know the full story?" His words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of uncertainty. In that moment, Caldwell felt the walls closing in. She had hoped that their love could withstand the storm, but now it seemed like the very foundation was crumbling. "You think I wanted this? I've fought to build a life I'm proud of, and yes, I made mistakes. But that doesn't define who I am now." Her voice was a mixture of defiance and desperation. The heated exchange continued, each of them pushing back against the other's pain. Waverly, feeling cornered, struggled to articulate the turmoil inside him. I want to support you, but I need to know that I'm not marrying someone who is still tied to their past. I can't be the only one putting in the effort to make this work. Caldwell's expression softened, realizing that beneath the anger was a profound sense of hurt. I never wanted to hurt you, Dion. I thought I could protect us by keeping my past hidden, but I can see now that it has driven a wedge between us. I need you to understand that I am not that person anymore. As the confrontation reached a peak, both stood in silence, their breaths heavy with the weight of the moment. The love that had bound them now felt fragile, teetering on the edge of collapse. They were two individuals facing the reality of their choices, the confrontation a necessary step in uncovering the truth of their relationship. In that charged atmosphere, they both recognized that this was a pivotal moment. The path forward would require more than just love, it would demand understanding, forgiveness, and a willingness to confront their fears together. The confrontation, though painful, was a necessary catalyst for change, a chance to redefine their bond amidst the shadows of the past. The storm of emotions that had brewed between Pastor Dion Waverly and Judge Saw Caldwell reached a boiling point, leaving both of them gasping for clarity amidst the chaos. After their heated confrontation, the room felt charged with unspoken words and unresolved feelings. Each was left to ponder the weight of their choices and the fragile state of their marriage. As the day unfolded, the couple attempted to navigate the aftermath of their fight, but the air remained thick with tension. Waverly, still reeling from Caldwell's shocking confession, found it hard to focus. The image of the woman he loved was now intertwined with the complexities of her past, and doubt began to creep into his mind. He had always believed in the power of redemption, yet he was struggling to apply that belief to his own life. Caldwell, too, felt the pressure mounting. She had laid bare her soul, revealing the dark corners of her history, yet the openness had not brought the relief she had hoped for. Instead, it had ignited a challenge she felt ill-equipped to face. The expectations of her career as a judge weighed heavily on her, and now, the burden of her personal life felt almost insurmountable. She wandered through the day, caught in a whirlwind of thoughts, desperately seeking a way to mend the rift that had formed between them. That evening, as they sat in silence at the dinner table, the atmosphere was suffocating. Waverly picked at his food, while Caldwell stared out the window, lost in thought. The clock ticked steadily, each second amplifying the distance between them. Finally, Waverly broke the silence, his voice barely above a whisper. "I just don't understand how we got here. Everything felt so right before, now it's like we're strangers." Caldwell turned to him, her heart aching. "I know. I never wanted to keep things from you. I thought I was protecting us. But I see now that my silence only created more distance." Her voice trembled with vulnerability, and Waverly felt a flicker of hope. But as they spoke, a familiar frustration bubbled to the surface. "You need to understand that secrets don't just disappear overnight," he said, his tone sharper than intended. "We can't just pretend everything is fine because we're married now." The tension escalated again, and Caldwell felt the sting of his words. "I'm trying. But every time I try to explain, it feels like I'm being punished for my past. I thought we were on the same team." In that moment, the emotions that had been simmering finally erupted. Waverly stood abruptly, pushing his chair back so forcefully that it toppled over. "You don't get to play the victim here. I'm the one who feels betrayed." As the intensity of the confrontation reached its peak, Caldwell felt a wave of panic wash over her. She had always prided herself on her strength, but now she felt cornered, her heart racing. "What do you want from me, Dion? I can't change what happened before. I can only strive to be better." In a moment of frustration, Waverly took a step toward her, his voice rising. "You need to fight for this, Saw. You can't just keep hiding." The words hung in the air, sharp and accusatory. The pressure of the moment became too much. Caldwell, overwhelmed by a mixture of fear and anger, felt a sudden surge of emotion. In a moment of impulse, she pushed Waverly away, her hands firmly on his chest. The action was meant to create space, but it had an unintended consequence. Waverly, caught off guard, stumbled backward, losing his balance. Time seemed to slow as he fell, the shock of the moment freezing both of them in place. He hit the edge of the table before crashing to the ground, the thud reverberating through the room. Caldwell's heart dropped as she rushed to his side, panic rising within her. "Dion. Oh my God, are you okay?" Waverly lay on the floor, stunned and disoriented. The anger that had fueled their confrontation was replaced by a new kind of fear, one that came from realizing just how fragile their situation had become. As Caldwell knelt beside him, tears streaming down her face, the reality of what had just happened settled in. "I didn't mean to," she stammered, her voice trembling. "I just wanted some space. I never wanted to hurt you." Waverly looked up at her, pain etched across his features, but beneath the hurt was a flicker of understanding. "I know you didn't. But this is not just about us anymore. We need to find a way to communicate without it escalating like this." In that moment, amidst the chaos of emotions and the fear of what had just transpired, both realized that their love was at a crossroads. The push had been more than physical, it symbolized the deeper issues that lay unaddressed. They were faced with a choice: either to allow this incident to fracture their relationship further or to use it as a catalyst for healing and growth. As they sat together on the floor, the gravity of their situation hung in the air, a stark reminder of the work that lay ahead if they were to reclaim their love. The atmosphere in the hotel room shifted dramatically after the incident, leaving Pastor Dion Waverly and Judge Saw Caldwell in a state of shock and disbelief. What had begun as a heated confrontation had spiraled into a moment that neither could have anticipated. In the aftermath of Waverly's fall, panic surged through Caldwell as she knelt beside her husband, her heart racing with fear and regret. As Waverly struggled to regain his composure, Caldwell's mind raced with questions. Was this the beginning of the end for them? The weight of the confrontation loomed large, casting a shadow over their relationship. Waverly's expression was a mixture of pain and confusion. He was grappling with the reality of what had just occurred. The incident was more than just a physical fall, it had unveiled deeper issues that they had been avoiding. Caldwell's instincts kicked in. She quickly helped Waverly to his feet, her hands trembling as she checked for any signs of injury. "Are you okay? Please, tell me you're all right," she urged, her voice filled with concern. He nodded slowly, wincing slightly but managing a weak smile. "I think I'm fine. Just a bit shaken up." But as they stood together, the air between them was thick with unspoken fears. The incident had become a catalyst, forcing them to confront the fragility of their relationship and the intensity of their emotions. It was in that moment that Caldwell realized they had crossed a line that could not be uncrossed. The push had not only been an act of desperation but a manifestation of the unresolved tensions that had built up over time. In the days that followed, the gravity of the incident weighed heavily on both of them. Questions loomed large in their minds: was it an accident, or had the confrontation unveiled deeper truths about their relationship? The line between love and anger had blurred, leaving them both grappling with feelings of guilt and uncertainty. Waverly found himself reflecting on their relationship, questioning whether the love he had for Caldwell could survive such a pivotal moment. He had always believed that love was strong enough to withstand any storm, but now he pondered if that belief was naive. The push had shaken him, both physically and emotionally, and he couldn't help but wonder if it was indicative of a deeper issue. Was their love truly built on a solid foundation, or was it a facade, easily shattered by conflict? Caldwell, too, wrestled with her feelings. The incident haunted her, replaying in her mind like a broken record. She felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility for what had happened, a nagging thought that perhaps she had pushed too hard, both literally and metaphorically. The fear of losing Waverly was palpable, and she knew that they needed to address the underlying issues that had led them to that fateful moment. As the couple attempted to navigate their emotions, the question of whether it was murder or a tragic accident loomed large. While they both understood that the push had not been intentional, the implications of that moment felt significant. It forced them to confront the reality that their relationship was fraught with tension, and unresolved issues threatened to unravel everything they had built together. One evening, sitting in their living room, Caldwell finally broke the silence. "Dion, we need to talk about what happened. I can't keep pretending it didn't occur. It's eating me alive," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. Waverly met her gaze, the weight of her words sinking in. "I agree. We can't ignore it. But I also don't want to dwell on blame. What happened was a result of everything building up between us." Their conversation unfolded slowly, each word laden with the weight of their shared experience. They delved into the complexities of their emotions, the fears that had taken root in their hearts, and the love that still lingered beneath the surface. As they spoke, they both realized that healing would not come easy. It would require vulnerability, honesty, and a willingness to confront the truths they had long avoided. In the days that followed, they sought counseling, recognizing that they needed a safe space to explore their feelings. The therapist guided them through the tumultuous waters of their relationship, helping them to articulate their fears and desires. They began to understand that the push was not merely an isolated incident but a reflection of the unresolved tensions that had been simmering beneath the surface. Gradually, they found a path toward healing, learning to communicate openly and honestly. They discovered that love, while powerful, could also be fragile. The journey was not without its challenges, but as they navigated the complexities of their emotions, they began to rebuild the trust that had been shaken. Through it all, they learned that true intimacy requires vulnerability and the courage to face the darkness together. The question of whether it was murder or a tragic accident transformed from a point of contention into a catalyst for understanding. Ultimately, they found that the real tragedy would have been to allow that moment to define them. Instead, they chose to let it be a turning point, a reminder that love, though tested, could emerge stronger on the other side. In the wake of the tumultuous events that had unfolded, Pastor Dion Waverly and Judge Saw Caldwell found themselves at a critical juncture in their relationship. The incident, which had once threatened to tear them apart, had ultimately become a catalyst for profound reflection and growth. As they navigated the complexities of their emotions, both recognized that the real lesson behind their struggles extended far beyond the confines of their marriage. Sitting together in their living room, they began to unpack the layers of their journey. The therapist had encouraged them to explore not just the surface issues that had led to their confrontation, but the deeper beliefs and values that shaped their lives. They had both entered the relationship with their own histories, shaped by past experiences and traumas that sometimes clouded their present. Waverly initiated the conversation, his voice steady. "I've been thinking about how we got here. It's not just about the push or the secrets. It's about how we communicate and how we let our fears dictate our actions." Caldwell nodded, feeling the weight of his words. "I agree. I've realized that I've been so focused on protecting myself that I forgot to be vulnerable with you. I thought that by keeping my past hidden, I was doing us a favor. This moment marked a turning point for both of them. They began to understand that vulnerability was not a sign of weakness but a bridge that could connect their hearts. Waverly shared how he had always held on to a sense of pride as a pastor, believing that he needed to appear strong and unwavering. I thought that meant I had to have all the answers, he admitted. But I've learned that it's okay to not have everything figured out. It's okay to lean on you. Caldwell felt the weight of his admission. For so long, I thought I had to be the strong one too. My career as a judge often made me feel like I had to keep my emotions in check. But in doing that, I built walls between us. They both recognized that those walls had, at times, isolated them from one another, creating a chasm filled with misunderstandings and unspoken fears. As their conversation deepened, they began to identify the core beliefs that had influenced their actions. Waverly spoke about his upbringing in a conservative environment, where vulnerability was often seen as a flaw. I've carried that belief into adulthood, thinking that showing weakness would make me less of a leader, he confessed. But I see now that it's the opposite. Being vulnerable can actually strengthen our connection. Caldwell shared her own struggles, revealing how her past relationship had left scars that made her hesitant to open up. I was so afraid of being judged or rejected that I kept my history locked away. But that fear only served to alienate us, she said, her voice trembling slightly. I want to move forward, but I need to confront what I've been avoiding. Together, they explored the idea that the lessons learned from their experiences were not just about avoiding conflict but embracing authenticity. They began to see that each confrontation had the potential to deepen their understanding of one another, as long as they approached it with open hearts. Through therapy sessions, they learned practical tools for communication: active listening, expressing needs without blame, and acknowledging each other's feelings. These strategies became lifelines, helping them navigate the complexities of their emotions without resorting to anger or defensiveness. The couple also recognized the importance of creating a safe space for vulnerability. They established regular check-ins, allowing each other to voice concerns, dreams, and fears without judgment. This practice transformed the way they interacted, fostering a sense of safety that had been absent before. As they reflected on their journey, they began to see the real lesson behind their case. It was not merely about the confrontation or the fallout, it was about the resilience they discovered within themselves and each other. They understood that every challenge they faced together was an opportunity for growth, not just as individuals, but as a couple. In the months that followed, their relationship evolved into something richer and more profound. They learned to celebrate their differences, recognizing that those variations contributed to the tapestry of their love. Waverly's faith and Caldwell's pragmatism complemented one another, creating a partnership that was both grounded and aspirational. Ultimately, the real lesson behind their case was about the power of love to transcend adversity. It was about acknowledging the past while not allowing it to dictate their future. They discovered that true intimacy requires vulnerability, honesty, and the courage to confront the shadows that lingered in the corners of their hearts. As they sat together, reflecting on their journey, they realized that their love story was not just their own, it was a testament to the human experience. In navigating the complexities of their relationship, they had unearthed universal truths about love, trust, and the importance of facing one's fears. They emerged stronger, united in their commitment to one another, ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead with open hearts and unwavering resolve. As Pastor Dion Waverly and Judge Saw Caldwell reflected on their tumultuous journey, they found themselves at a crossroads of understanding and introspection. The challenges they faced had pushed them to their limits, unveiling the complexities of their relationship and the depths of their emotions. In this moment of reflection, they were not just contemplating their own actions but also considering the broader implications of their experiences. What would one do in the face of such turmoil? The question lingered in the air, inviting them to explore the choices they had made and the paths they could have taken. Both Waverley and Caldwell understood that their relationship was a tapestry woven from decisions, missteps, and moments of vulnerability. Each choice had led them to this point, and they began to contemplate how different decisions might have altered the course of their journey. Waverley thought back to the initial signs of tension in their relationship, moments that had been brushed aside in the name of love and commitment. If I had taken a step back and recognized those signs earlier, maybe we could have avoided some of the anger, he mused. He recalled how he had often prioritized his role as a pastor, believing it was his duty to remain strong and unyielding. I see now that strength can sometimes mean being willing to share your fears and doubts. If I had reached out for help sooner, we might have been better equipped to handle the conflicts that arose. Caldwell nodded, recognizing her own role in the narrative. I often felt like I had to carry everything on my shoulders, she admitted. If I had trusted you enough to share my fears and insecurities, perhaps we wouldn't have faced such a catastrophic moment. I was so afraid of judgment that I isolated myself, thinking it was for the best. Their reflections turned to the fateful incident, the push that had become a turning point in their relationship. It was a moment charged with emotion, one that could have led to disaster but ultimately opened the door for healing. What if I hadn't reacted the way I did? Caldwell pondered. What if I had taken a moment to breathe and communicate instead of letting the anger take over? Waverley considered the aftermath, realizing that the incident had forced them to confront their vulnerabilities. In a way, that moment was a wake-up call for both of us. It made us realize how fragile our connection was and how much we needed to work on it. The confrontation, while painful, had become a catalyst for change, pushing them to seek help and learn how to communicate effectively. As they discussed their thoughts, a deeper understanding emerged. They recognized that every relationship faces challenges, and it's how partners respond to those challenges that ultimately defines the strength of their bond. They had learned that vulnerability was not a weakness but rather a bridge to deeper intimacy and understanding. The question still lingered: what would others have done in their situation? Would they have reacted differently? Would they have chosen to walk away, or would they have fought to mend what was broken? Waverley and Caldwell knew that every relationship is unique, shaped by individual experiences, histories, and personalities. The choices made are often colored by emotions that can cloud judgment. In contemplating the actions of others, they recognized the importance of empathy. Every person faces moments of doubt, fear, and anger. The key lies in how they choose to respond. I think it's essential for us to remember that everyone is fighting their own battles, Caldwell said thoughtfully. What might seem like an overreaction or a small issue to one person could be monumental to another. They both agreed that their journey was not just about them, it was a reflection of the human experience. Love is complicated, and relationships require constant effort and understanding. They recognized that the lessons they learned could resonate with anyone facing similar struggles. As they concluded their reflective conversation, Waverley and Caldwell felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had faced their demons and emerged stronger on the other side. The question of what others would have done was not just an exercise in curiosity, it was a reminder that relationships are a shared journey, marked by both challenges and triumphs. In the end, they found solace in knowing that they were not alone in their struggles. Every couple faces their own trials, but it is the commitment to growth, understanding, and love that ultimately defines the success of a relationship. With their hearts intertwined, they looked forward to the future, ready to embrace the lessons learned and the journey ahead, hand in hand.